Hello and welcome from a sunny but windy and breezy Blackpool, and welcome to the first in the series of videos place name foods, the first of which is Blackpool Rock. We need to go back to the late 1800s to find hard candy with the word Blackpool running the whole way through it. And the man that came up with the idea was sweet factory owner Ben Bullock, not from Blackpool but from Dewsbury. It was in 1902 that the first stick of Blackpool Rock was produced in the town by an ex-employee of Bullock's, George Sr. As Blackpool prospered in the early part of the 20th century, so too did the rock trade, until wartime rationing and a shortage of sugar. However, after rationing ended, the boom continued, and there were, by some accounts, up to 50 manufacturers of sweets in the Blackpool area. It wasn't until the 1960s that rock, instead of being wrapped in waxed paper, was wrapped in clear cellophane with the characteristic label, usually a picture of the tower, in the middle. And as we move from the hustle and bustle of the Golden Mile and a breezy prom, we pay a visit to Blackwoods of Blackpool, established in 1944 and still in business today. Blackwoods had no rock scheduled for production on the day that I called, but they kindly provided me with this video which shows the rock process. This is the pink colour that's been laid down for the outer part of the traditional rock. This is the more intense red, the red lettering, and the white you can see, which is still clear at this point, as I gather up the pink for the outside. Moving over to the smaller portion of very intense red for the lettering. At this stage the mixture looks very plasticky, and it's actually on a table that has been cooled with water to make it come down to a workable temperature. So that's the white, the pink, and the other one being the red. This white part goes onto a very special machine, which then starts to inject air into it just simply by kneading, or whatever you want to call this. But we'll see this later on when we see the factory today. But the longer this goes on for, the more the solution turns white. This is coming to the lettering part, where we've got the intense red, which has been pulled out into separate letters, which are actually produced as fairly short, stubby letters almost, as you'll see here, which I think is the letter H that's going to be produced. Hopefully I can explain this, because some people find this difficult. This is a white after it's been taken off that opposing arms threshing type machine, whatever you want to call it, and it's still quite malleable at this stage. Obviously you can see that's it being rolled out for the centre, so that's your centre white part of a stick of rock. Oh sorry, that's it being pulled to get small parts for the spacing for the letters. At this stage the letters seem very, very big, which they are, but the magic hasn't happened yet. So that effectively is a letter H. The letters are all then put together in a section. There are small bits of plastic to space them out at this stage, but then they'll all get put together without the plastic. And then that word, that is one word, so that's all pulled together. And as you can see, it's only probably about 18 inches long, each letter at this point. This is where the craftsmanship is involved in creating a consistent product time and time again. And at this point there is white laid on top, because there has got to be white centre lettering and then a white outer round the lettering for the pink, which has been rolled here, gets rolled into a flat piece with all the lettering that's been rolled up together with the large part in the middle, thinner part outside, and then the outside pink section is pulled across. Again, you can see just how malleable the mixture is at this point. It's then put into this heated roller machine, which rolls one way, then the other, and then it gets pulled. It reverses because otherwise we'd end up with straight drop. It's pulled out at this stage and is still fairly malleable and soft, but it can't get allowed to get too hard. It gets cut at this point by an amazing piece of machinery, because if it was too soft at this point, it would then just go oval and then gets wrapped in cellophane with a label tied at the end. Everything is done by hand. And as we move on to a special boiling that Blackwoods very kindly did for me, this is a straight lolly, and it shows how the principle is almost exactly the same, with the initial pouring of the glucose, water and sugar mixture, which has been heated up to 240 degrees, and it's now been laid out on a table which has been water cooled to take it down to a workable temperature. Again, different coloured dyes have been put in. First of all, yellow, and again very small amounts, blue, and of course red. So the mixture that's on the table is slowly being cooled to make it workable, and as you can see, it looks almost plastic like at this stage as they cut out each of the separate colours for the striped lolly. Nothing's wasted, these parts go together. This will form the white part of the lolly, and we'll have a closer look at that piece of machinery in a second. Now, as Robert cuts it, Robert is the son of the original owner.
I remember seeing one video on YouTube.
You can see the colours are spreading a bit, but they're now at a temperature that can be worked with. Coloured portions of the mixture are now placed onto a heated table this time. This heated table keeps them soft enough to be able to be worked with. But first of all, we've got to attend to the white part. The white part, of course, is the yellow piece of soft, malleable mixture, which is then put onto this machine that we're familiar with. And this is absolutely fascinating to watch. I was just waiting for it to drop off the bottom, but of course, many years of experience stops that from happening. And as the mixture gets mixed, shall we say, it brings in air and it lightens the mixture, aerates the mixture. That's a piece of just a bit of flavouring that's been added in at that point. And again, it's just very, very small amounts. A word about Blackwoods, when we're watching a fabulous piece of equipment, but they do rock, sweets, promotional items, lollipops, etc. for companies, corporates and individuals. So if you're looking for any promotional material, please give them a call. They'll be more than happy to have a word with you. We'll go back to having a look at this brilliant piece of machinery. You can see it's got bigger and whiter. Small piece, Robert takes a small piece off. This will be using the lolly to separate the colours. And then the larger piece
I should be about 8 stone doing this every day.
That's what I was thinking.
gets
But,
pulled off
I bet you that's not particularly easy.
and worked with. You can see it's still soft enough to work with, but with a fair bit of muscle.
Absolutely, it's amazing. Look how white it is.
The press we use for these lollipops are a bit primitive.
So that was a smaller piece of white that was taken off earlier,
Oh, right.
So have you got a glue lever in there?
This is brilliant.
which then is used in the same way as the lettering, but this time it's to separate the colours of what eventually will be the lolly.
How often would you make the lollipops?
These, this particular order, we're only doing it for about 3 days.
Right.
So we normally do.
That's a piece of machinery that's been on for a while, which has got 2 heated rollers in it. As Robert in the background is now putting the white centre in, again in a similar way as to the way the rock was made. This time it's just colours that are wrapped round the outside. And Robert rocks it backwards forwards, gets a completed piece and puts it into the heated roller machine. Again it rolls forward one way, then another, as you've just seen, and it straightens out the twist that's in it. So without reversing itself every so often, it straightens out the twist that you don't want in rock. But if you watch for a second, you'll see is Robert's cutting the rock, or cutting the lolly. He's actually creating a twist in it before he passes it on to his colleague, and then shows it round into a round lollipop. This has got to be at the right temperature, because if it was too warm, it would just collapse into an oval shape rather than a round shape. Although ironically with the lollipop, you'll see later on what actually happens to it.
Photogenic, they've been on Sky TV, so they're not a bit.
Yeah, do you get lots of TV companies?
So we have the lollipop formed, stick stuck in,
Cables. Right.
and then it finally gets pressed.
I'm just trying to zoom in.
At this point the lolly still doesn't have its final shape, it's a bit round, so it then gets pressed into a flatter shape that then gets put into a cellophane bag.
Right.
The cellophane bag will have the client's name, logo, and all important labelling requirements, and in this case the label gets stuck on and gets placed with the rest. And then finally, these lollies are put with the rest, just to allow it to cool off slightly, and they will be packaged up for dispatch later. I'd just like to thank Blackwoods for putting on a special boiling just for me to be able to video it from start to finish. Very grateful for that, thank you. And just the previous batch of actual sugar dummies ready to be dispatched. That was done before my visit. If you've enjoyed this first video in the series, please like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what town or city you'd like to see featured next. Coming up next, Pontefract cake.